Okay, so starting off with the skills and jobs now. So the first thing you want to do is when you're doing in the discovery phase is you want to find out if the skills that you've got have even got jobs available for you in New Zealand. So there's a couple of things you want to do. So my suggestion is if you look on the screen, I've opened up ChatGPT. Okay, so ChatGPT I think can be your best friend. You don't believe everything that ChatGPT says, just like you don't believe anything on the internet, but it's a good way to start your research and then you double check stuff that it brings up. So starting with ChatGPT, what I did as an example, I took my Word format CV and I attached it into ChatGPT and I asked the question and I said, what companies are best in New Zealand for me to work at based on my CV attached? Gave it a little few minutes to start doing a bit of research and you can see, okay, it came back and it started telling me a list of some of the potential companies I could work at based on my skills in my CV. It tells me Datacom, tells you a little bit about Datacom, tells you Spark, Vodafone, CCL, Deloitte, PwC. So it's starting to give me a couple of companies that I could potentially look at. And it's even telling you why and all the rest. Then it also tells you in the government sector that there could be potential companies there, again, with niche skill. So it starts talking about Cordia, for example, and it really starts giving you a good breakdown of companies that you could work at. So at least it's starting to show me there are obviously companies that my skill potentially could match and be sought after in those companies. It then also shows me on LinkedIn that I could start looking up those companies as well as their direct websites. And I could start going onto their job portal, seeing what jobs they got on offer. So I could go directly into those different companies. Or what I can also do is, and I'm going to show you now, you can also start going into Seek and you can actually start updating a profile in Seek. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the planning and doing phase. But under Discovery for now, you're just trying to see, hey, have they even got jobs available for me with the skills that I've got currently? So this is how I suggest you start doing a little bit of that research, and ChatGPT is giving you a nice breakdown. What you can even do is you can expand it a little bit further. And I know ChatGPT starts telling you, okay, well, tailor your CV, how you do your networking, focusing on in-demand skills. So it's really even starting to give you tips of when you're starting to try find the job and job hunting. So it's really cool, some of the information that it really gives you in ChatGPT. I want one step further. Once I put in my CV and asked for the different companies that I could potentially work at in New Zealand, and I said to them, okay, what is the average salary range per annum in that job? So you can start looking and saying, okay, well, in that job, what potentially, it tells you company size, location, and then it starts breaking it down. It says, well, if you were a senior operations manager, you could potentially earn that. Head of project management, you could potentially earn that. ICT project managers, service delivery managers, just general IT managers, architects. So it starts breaking down the potential average salary that you could potentially get in those different areas. Again, I'm reiterating, you can't believe everything that ChatGPT says. And just because it says that doesn't mean you're going to earn that. Okay, but it's giving you a guide of what it could potentially be. So that's a good starting point. But it also then starts telling you a little bit about other things to take note of, which I'll talk to in this discovery phase when I get into the cost of living and can you afford to actually not just survive in New Zealand, but thrive in New Zealand. And I'll start talking to some of this information as well. But really, it started giving you a guide. So now I was like, okay, based on my CV, based on my skills, there is potential jobs that I could get in New Zealand. I can see which companies potentially would want to look at hiring me or might have jobs available to me. I'm starting to get a bit of an idea of what the salaries could be per annum for that type of job that I could potentially look for. So then I'd want to jump on to Seek and I say, okay, well, based on some of the information I've already found, let's go have a look on Seek and say, okay, if I were to apply for a project manager position, you can put in project manager. In what area? So I'd put in, when you go down here, just make sure you, for me specifically, it's information and communication technology. So I'll say search just those. Depending on your skills, you could break it down into the health and medical, hospitality. It all depends on what area and what your skills are. But Seek breaks it down. So you just refine your search a little bit. I refine my search to also say that I'm only looking in Auckland. Now, based on those salaries, I could also start saying, okay, well, I want to look at the salary brackets from the 120K per year to 350 plus per year. So you can start filtering or leave that filter off if you want to see more options that are available. You do the search and then it can start bringing up the different jobs that are available. So now it starts telling you the actual companies, and you can actually start reading all of these and saying, okay, engineering manager, what do they mean by engineering manager? You could start going into this and reading a little bit more about the skills that they are expecting in New Zealand terms, because sometimes the words we use in the different countries are a little different for the same thing. But now you're starting to educate yourself and realize, okay, well, when they're talking about an engineering manager, that's what an engineering manager does. And those are all the different types of skills. What you can also then start doing is looking at all the different companies now that are advertising for what type of positions, what they're calling those positions, what are the skills that they need in those different types of positions. And so you can start going through it. You can also see on some of this, it will even tell you in these job ads, start giving you an idea of what the salary brackets are that they're offering. So then you can start seeing if it is actually in line with what you were doing research-wise and the amount of money you could potentially earn. So this is a good place to start looking for jobs and what are actually available. If you start seeing that on Seek, let's take a step back. If you start seeing from the search that you did on ChatGPT that your skills are potentially sought after in New Zealand, meaning that there are jobs available for you with the skills that you got. You can see the type of companies. You've gone on to Seek, you're seeing a lot of different positions being advertised. They are falling within a decent salary bracket, but we'll talk about budget now to see what that salary bracket should be, not just to survive or thrive. But you start to see, hey, this could actually work potentially. You can even go one step further then and say, okay, ChatGPT, now that I've looked at the skills and everything that I've got, we're jumping kind of a little ahead now in the discovery phase. We're not only going to look at the skills and jobs, but now we want to start seeing, well, is there a pathway for me to potentially actually become a citizen and get my residency, etc., in New Zealand? So again, go back to ChatGPT now. And what I did is I took my CV in Word format and I actually asked it, said, based on, I didn't even spell on right, my attached CV, can you check if I have a pathway to residency in New Zealand? Now, you are going to have to speak to an immigration agent, authorized immigration agent, to confirm all of this. As I told you, we are in the first phase, which is discovery. So we're just trying to, before we consult anyone, before we start spending any money or anything like that, we're just working through the steps to discover if this is even for us, if moving to New Zealand is even an option for us. So I told you, you start with your why, you start with your pros and cons. I've just talked you through how you can start doing a little bit of research around your skills and jobs and seeing what's available between ChatGPT and also using Seek and looking at what jobs are available and how much you could earn in those potential jobs. Now you're using ChatGPT and you're putting in your CV and you're saying, okay, well, tell me, is there a pathway to residency? And you can see it's now telling you from that, it's saying, well, based on your experience, potentially there's a pathway, or your skills qualifications, and it's giving you possible options of what could be a pathway to residency. It's telling you that based on the different offerings that they've got with New Zealand immigration, whether it's you're on the occupation list or you've got point system or job offers, different options. So it talks you through these, and then it'll tell you the next steps, which is exactly what I'm going to be going into in the next phase, which is phase 2, which is the planning and doing, which is when you now need to actually consult a registered immigration advisor. So you can go for advice from an immigration agent. You can go look yourself on the immigration.gov.nz site and start reading up yourself as well and double checking. I know ChatGPT is querying that site for a lot of this information as well, but it's really just trying to give you an idea and saying, okay, so not only have I got the skills and the jobs being advertised, tech, in New Zealand, and it looks like they're offering, there's quite a few of them, they're offering in the different locations that I potentially want to move to in New Zealand. The amount of money is sounding like it should be okay for us to potentially make a living and look after our family there. And now you're starting to see, and then it's now potentially even a pathway for me to become a resident. And you'll see here, not only does it tell you the different options, it starts breaking it down. It's saying, okay, what are the titles on the potential green list or on the list of job-specific jobs or roles based on your CV? So it tells me ICT project manager or ICT managers in general, IT architects. So it's starting to tell me what are the even positions that they're looking for via immigration based on my CV and based on my certifications. So it's a good way to start doing those checks and balances to start seeing, okay, I've got the skill, my skill seems sought after, there are jobs available. These are the companies that are potentially hiring. I've gone onto their websites, I've gone onto their LinkedIn profiles. These are the jobs they're advertising directly on their different sites. These are what they're offering, salary-wise, bands-wise. I've gone onto ChatGPT and the immigration websites. There's even potentially a pathway based on my CV and the jobs and the skills and everything I have. So now we're really ticking it off. So then the last thing you would want to jump into after this is the last step in the discovery phase, which is cost of living. So we'll jump to that next. But just to wrap up, ChatGPT is your friend, Seek's your friend, and probably LinkedIn as well, and going and doing a bit of research on the different companies. So that's in the skills, jobs, and the pathway to residency or green list phase, or step in phase 1 of discovery. So with that, I'll bring up the next step, which is cost of living. Okay, so now we're still in the discovery phase, phase 1, but we're at the last step, step 5, which is going the cost of living. So we're clear on our why now. Our why is strong. We've gone through our pros and cons. The pros are definitely outweighing the cons to move to New Zealand. We've gone through our skills and jobs available based on our skills in New Zealand. We have now also established that there's a potential pathway to residency, be it the green list or not, but you can actually become a resident or a Kiwi. And the last thing you want to do is you want to say, based on all that information you found so far, you want to start understanding, okay, well, will it be enough money? Will they pay me enough money to be able to not just survive in New Zealand, but also thrive? So that's where I've brought up now my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's at Soft Landing NZ. First thing you want to do, please go and subscribe and follow me on my channel, so that if there's any new content or anything I put on there, you'll get notified and you can be kept up to date. So please do that. It also helps me grow the channel so I can try to reach as many immigrants as possible and help as many of us as possible make New Zealand home. So please do that for me. But going to the channel, what you'll want to do is, yes, I've got all my long form videos under videos. I've got all my shorts. So those are my short snippets that I share on day-to-day life and what's going on and what's happening and just whatever's on my mind that I want to share. My podcasts, so I try to get a podcast out at least once a week or at least every second week, where I share a little bit, or I interview people on my podcast and do my podcast over there. And then there's also playlists, which I'll talk through a little bit later. There's a whole lot of different playlists that I've got here. So if I do click on the playlist now, I'll show you. I've grouped my content into a whole lot of things that are around the why that can help you, your wellness and mindset tools, your how, podcasts, all the content, etc. So I've started putting all this together. But for this, what you want to do is you're going to want to go into videos and you're going to want to go down to a video I did. It's a tutorial over here called How Much Money Do You Need to Live in New Zealand? Okay, so this is what I recommend you do next, is go through this video to be able to get a good understanding if the salary that they are offering you, or you could potentially get for the skill that you've got, will it be enough to not just survive, but thrive in New Zealand? So if you go into that video, it'll bring up this video. You're going to want to go down into the description, expand the description, and I've got timestamps here. Where you want to probably jump ahead to is you'd probably want to go to the 11:28 mark over here. Before I get, so I'll mute it so it's not me talking. You can actually hear me talking now, not just me talking on the video. I talk a little bit about the budget that I've put together here. This budget is based on a family of 4. It's a budget that I did this year in 2025. And it was based first on what I recommend you need to earn for a family of 4 to just survive in the first year. So this is talking to your first person that arrives with the income in the family and how much you would need. And even if you're not a family of 4, you can alter them slightly and figure up, inflate or reduce whatever fortnightly or monthly or weekly amounts that I put in here. But this gives you a good starting point and a guide to start working out how much it actually costs and what your budget would need to be. You'll see in this video, I have said that I believe that just to survive for a family of 4, you're probably looking at about $124,000 plus minus a year as a bare minimum, just to be able to survive. So But go through the video and it'll show you. So that is at the template structure mark. I've also then at the 14-minute mark, I talk to a tool called the PAYE tool, which is a really handy tool that you can go onto a website. You put in whatever the amount is that they're offering you or you could earn. And then it'll work out how much you'll actually take home, be it weekly or be it fortnightly, monthly, etc. It can also work out all your deductions for paying of tax, for your KiwiSaver, etc. So it's a really handy tool to go through as well. So jumping down to the 14-minute mark. And then at the 20-minute mark, I get into the real detail around the budget for just one person and I'll break it down. So it is really, it's an in-depth video with a lot of detail. So you can skip along if you really want to move it along. But if you've got the time, please listen to it. I do believe there's value in it. But go through it for one income. And then you'll want to probably jump across to say, well, if you eventually plan on the first 6 months to 12 months like we did of only living off the one income to settle the family, and then the second person in the family starts getting an income only post 6 or 12 months, then you can jump down to the monthly budget with 2 incomes. So this is now where I expand on and I say, okay, now based on you not only having just the one income of the 124,000, for example, now you've got the 124,000 plus the second person of 90,000 or 110,000 or whatever it may be. So then you can work out what do you want to add on to the budget once you've got 2 incomes, so that you can start working towards thriving. This doesn't only give you a good understanding of how much to budget and breaking it down and what your expenses will be in New Zealand, but it's a good way to plan, because now it can tell you if you've gone through those steps that I've spoken about in the discovery. Yes, there's the why, there's the pros and cons. Yes, but you've now also looked at the skills and if they're available, but you've also started getting an understanding of how much they more or less would offer you in that type of skill. And you could do the same for your partner, do the same sort of research and see what they could potentially earn, even if it's only 6 or 12 months later. But then you can get an idea of what you think you could earn as income as a household. And you can start working out based on what I've given in this video, whether you'd be able to actually start thriving here, playing catch up here. Like we said, we've come at the age of 40. So we now know we got to do a lot of catch up to be able to retire by 60, 65 and not be a burden on our children. But this is a good starting point to start putting all of that together to see if this is a good idea for you. So this is what I recommend if you're going to start thinking about coming to New Zealand is go to this video. The template is there as well. There's links in here where you can download the templates and everything. So over and above this video that I'm making, where I'll give all the different links, you can even go to my other content. There's a whole lot of other templates that I give you to download to start working off of. Okay, and now we're going to talk about job search. So there's a lot of information I'm going to throw at you here. So like I've reminded you before, this is maybe where you would want to make sure you've bookmarked this video so you can go back to it. You may not be able to sit through the whole thing. I know we've been going for almost an hour already. So yeah, let's get stuck into the job search part. Okay, so of the planning and doing phase, spoken about immigration, spoken about the budgets. Now it's the job search. Now this is the big thing where it's the onus on you. So the first thing I'm going to take you to is if you go back to my YouTube channel, you're going to want to look for a video under my videos section. And it is a interview that I did with the GM. Yeah, his name is Andre Cronier. Okay, it says how to ace a job interview here in New Zealand. Not only has he told us how to ace the interview, but he's given us a lot of tips and tricks on how to even get that initial interview, to how to just get a foot in the door to even be met. So I think there's a lot of handy information here. You'll see there's a lot of people that'll tell you to do your CV in a New Zealand format, to do your cover letter in a New Zealand format. And it's a big debate whether there's such a thing. I mean, you talk to Kiwis and they'll tell you, what do you mean New Zealand format? I think what's more important is, and what he talks through here in this video, is that you're making sure that your CV is in a format that it's professional and it's just with what people are used to reading here when they're recruiting people. And also not only in the format, so making it brief and to the point like he explains over here. When I say brief, don't do pages and pages in your CV, and you don't have to put your photo on there and a whole lot of other information. It's more really trying to make it relevant to the job that you're applying for, really trying to highlight, and I'll talk about skills stacking, highlighting the skills that you've actually got that are relevant to the job that you're applying and where you've got the experience in your CV. So it's really tailoring it in that sort of way. And I know some people call that Kiwified. Your cover letter, this is a time for you to be able to stand out amongst everyone else when they're reading that cover letter. So it's how do you, in that first paragraph, state it in such a way that I want to meet this person. Oh, I want to read more about him. I'd like to meet him. Okay, let me read his CV and let's carry on. So that is trying to talk a little bit personal, something that's about you, but that's not only about you, that ties into the actual job that you're applying for. So it's how you do your cover letters. And he speaks to this. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. I was applying for a position at Te Whatu Ora, which is the health ministry here. And one of the things I did in my past life when I was first out of school is I was a paramedic. And it's a passion of mine, is really serving and helping people. And had paramedics been able to make enough money back in South Africa, I probably would have carried on with that line of work, but I didn't. I moved into IT. But it's still something I'm so passionate about. So when there was a position in the IT department at Te Whatu Ora or the Ministry of Health here, I opened up with speaking to them about saying, just like they're about caring for Kiwis and our health as Te Whatu Ora, my passion when I was a paramedic is in line with this. And I would talk to it and explain how I would fit in with their culture and what they're doing and their mission, even although I'm in IT. So that's kind of how you got to relate it back. It's like, oh yeah, this is somebody that it would fit in. So it's not just about your skills. It's about selling yourself and just being different, showing what's unique about you compared to every other cover letter and every other person that they're trying to read. So that's what's so important when you're doing this job search. So getting back to it, go to my YouTube channel, over and above subscribing, go down to this video over here, give it a watch. It's about an hour long. It's really worthwhile. In this video, you'll see, I've gone in the description as well, and I've told you, he talks a little bit to the culture and why it matters and why it's important to understand the nuances with the culture here. He also talks a little bit like I've just been speaking about now with the cover letters and the CVs. He's spoken about skill stacking, which I'll talk to shortly, and just how to communicate and how to handle yourself in the actual interview. So it really is worthwhile listening to and watching this video from Andre. What I've done is I've also done a blog. So if you go into my YouTube channel, over and above going down to the video, going to his video, you can go to more over here and you can go click on my blog. Okay. And if you open up my blog, you'll see there is a blog on, it's called How to Secure a Job Interview and Get Hired in New Zealand. It is based off the interview that I did with Andre. But what it really does is it just quickly breaks it down for you and says, okay, we've explained why it's a little bit hard and challenging to get a job at the moment in New Zealand. And there's other video content you can watch to get a better understanding of that. I'm not going to go into that now, but he talks to the power of a targeted CV. So what he's really meaning by a targeted CV is when you go into the job that's been advertised on Seek or LinkedIn or the employer's website or whatever else, you really want to hone in and see what are the skills that they're highlighting? What are the soft skills, technical skills? What are they actually looking for? And you want to make sure your CV is adapted in such a way that it aligns with what they are looking for. Okay, you don't want to just sound like every other person and every other CV. So you really got to target it. And he talks to this in the video and explains that a little bit more. What he also does, over and above targeting to the position that you're actually applying for, he talks about stacking your skills, which I thought was actually it's actually such a good point. Over the years of experience, you've got experience in a whole lot of different things, okay? And what you do is when you read that job ad, it might be asking for different types of skills, and you might not be the expert in all of those, but you do have a flavor of that skill. So it's a way to put your CV together to stack those skills in the order of priority that you read in that job spec. Say, oh, I've got those skills. So it's almost ticking it off. So they go, oh yeah, okay, he's got sales experience as well. He's got contract management skill as well. And he's got the technical bit and the leadership skill. And he can present and everything as well. So you may not be an expert in all of those, but you're stacking your skills together to align with the position that they've got available. He also talks a little bit to how important it is to stand out in the interview and how to just connect emotionally with the people that you're meeting with. So I know it can be hard and you can be very nervous in an interview and everything like that, but I promise you, if they've read through your CV and your cover notes and they've chosen to meet with you, they've got a good understanding of your technical ability. And yeah, they'll probably do technical assessments and ask you technical questions and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things they're trying to see is, are you that culture fit? And that is huge here. Do we like you? Are you the right fit? Are you the right person for the team? Would you be able to complement the team and work together and be an easy person to work with? That's what they're trying to identify as well. So it's so important to stand out in that sort of way and know how to interview in that sort of way. Networking. Wow, it is so crucial here. Networking is huge in New Zealand. A lot of it is who you know. Sometimes, just by knowing the right people, the advert won't even go out. You can get employment that way. And it's hard when you don't have a network, but how to build it. And I'll talk through that shortly with how to start doing it with LinkedIn and everything like that. But it's important to start networking, getting out there and speak to people. And Andre talks to that a little bit in the video too. So it really is important. So I'm just sharing a little bit. There is the blog, which gives you a little bit of a breakdown, but again, it roots to the video. So I believe it will be very helpful watching that video. But getting back to a little bit of the practical advice when you're trying to search for a job. So if you're thinking about it, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your LinkedIn and you want to get your LinkedIn updated. You want your LinkedIn to match the skills that you've actually got on your CV, and it must be up to date and current along with all your work experience. I know this might all sound self-explanatory, but you're going to want all of that up to date. But if you look at your LinkedIn, one of the things you're going to want to do is you want your heading to, because you've got to remember what it also does with all these recruiters is there's AI, which is looking at keywords. It's looking the way things are written. It's trying to match things up. So even the selection process at the very beginning is with AI and recruiters and whatever else. So you've got to keep that in mind, let alone once you're actually in front of a manager, which I've just spoken to now, with standing out on your cover notes and standing out with your CVs, matching the actual job ads. So there's all these things you've got to think about. So when you're thinking about your LinkedIn profile, you've got to think about your about. You want to make sure that the headings are clear and it's in line with actual positions that you're looking for. You want to make sure that your about actually stands out. And your about section, it's natural and it's using, it flows naturally, but it's also using keywords that AI will be able to pick up on and look at your profile for. So you want that SEO to be high. That's what's it called? Search engine optimization. You want that to be high. So you're going to want to plug in some of those keywords in the ads that you see everywhere, but in a natural way in your about. And making sure your heading is right as well, okay? You're going to want to make sure that the titles on all your different experience ties in with actual jobs that are available in New Zealand and in their sort of terms, and that you're also building out all your different skills under all the different jobs, because the SEO and the AI is looking at these different skills and actually trying to make sure that they match up. So make sure those skills are populated. And in the skills section, make sure you got all your skills listed, okay? So you can get up to 50 different skills that are listed. So make sure that you show all those skills. Okay, so it is more than 50 skills. I couldn't remember how many, but list all your skills and actually populate this. Get all your certifications and everything added as well. If you've got any other education and certifications, add in. So fully populate this as best you can. If you can get any other people to give you recommendations and write-ups that you've been working with, get them to write it up. It's good to get this as up-to-date as possible. So that's one way of starting, is with your LinkedIn profile. And obviously, hopefully this is a good enough picture, but making it look professional and just getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed. Over and above getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed, what you'll also want to do is go into Seek, and you'll want to get your Seek profile up to spec. Your Seek profile needs to match your LinkedIn profile, okay? So the timelines and the different things in your career, your certifications, your skills, all that kind of stuff needs to match LinkedIn. It doesn't make sense if you say one thing on LinkedIn, but a different thing on your Seek profile. That's going to send off alarm bells. They must match, okay? And you can see even on Seek, when you're filling out all the information, it'll tell you whether you've got your profile up to a decent level where you've got everything filled out. So make sure you've got it to that level on the Seek site as well. I think one of the things you really want to do is, over and above getting your LinkedIn up to speed, getting your Seek up to spec, getting their matching and all the rest of it, getting all the keywords and stuff like that. I did speak about it a little bit earlier where I said, and watch the video, obviously, from Andre. I spoke about it a bit earlier. Use ChatGPT where you're doing your research. So if there's different jobs that you can see on Seek at different companies, go do your research on those companies. Use ChatGPT. Say, hey, I saw, and I'm just using an example, there was a advert for a position as an engineering manager or whatever at Datacom. Go do some research on Datacom and found out about them and get ChatGPT to do a lot of that research for you. Just verify it and whatever else, but you can use it to do a lot of that for you so that if you do go into the interviews, you're knowledgeable about the company that you're actually applying for positions for when you're in the interview. What it can also do is you can do a bit of research and tying it in with LinkedIn to start seeing, well, who are the different people? Who's the hiring manager? What are their structures? And you could potentially, if you can, with LinkedIn, start making those connections. Maybe there's somebody you know that knows somebody else that's at that company, or you could just find the right person, reach out in a professional way. You could go to their websites, apply for the positions on their websites as well. So you really got to do a lot of homework in trying to find a job. I will warn you, this is tough. Okay, this is probably the hardest part in the journey, is actually getting that job offer. Okay, you can do the whole discovery and tick all those boxes, and yes, like I know I want to go, and this is the right move for me. And you get into the planning phase. You've got an immigration agent. They're all positive. You paid them the money. They can help you with the visas. They'll get you to a point where you visa ready. Okay, so you've got everything to now get a little piece of paper from them that writes up that you're visa ready. And you use that when you're applying for positions here at companies. You use that visa ready letter so that potential employers know that, yeah, you're an immigrant, but you're at the stage where all you need is that job offer and you can move quickly to start with them. So within 2 months or so, you could actually get your visas and be in country and actually start working for them. So it's important to get to that point of being visa ready with them. But the onus is on you to find the job. And these are just some of the tips and tricks. You just got to be persistent. You just need that one offer. You just mustn't give up. And I know it's tough at the moment in New Zealand to get a job offer, but this is something that you're going to have to work through, keep working on. If you listen to that video from Andre, you update your LinkedIn profile, update your Seek profile, try get those keywords, do that stacking of your skills, and just keep going. Take note of how to interview and everything like that. This is definitely something that can help you in this stage, this step of planning and doing where you're trying to find a job offer, because the actual point is you need to get that job offer to then continue with the immigration agent to actually get a visa, to be able to get plane tickets, to actually get into the final phase, which is arriving and settling in New Zealand. So this is the toughest part that you got to do. What I am doing, and I'll talk about it a bit later in the arriving and settling portion, is I am working on getting a community built out, a community app, which is going to be the Inner Circle app, where if you want to be part of a team and a group that will support you end to end from the discovery phase all the way to settling and further along, just setting up towards buying a house, to retiring, getting your finances in order, helping you actually settle, build friends, finding friends and families in your area and in common, I am building out a support app, a community that you can join. So that, and I'll talk about it later, that's something you could join. But for now, and why I mentioned that, sorry, is we're going to also have it in that app where we can start teaching you how to interview. And we can do some mock interviews and everything like that. So we'll add extra for our community to try and help you and support you as well. So that's something I want to try and do. But for now, there is this. It is possible. You can do it yourself with all the content that I'm putting out there on YouTube, as well as watching Andre's advice and doing all of this. You can get a job. I did it. Many other people have done it. So it is possible. It's just not easy. You just don't give up. So we're at the last phase. You've stuck it out. You're with me. Let's get through that last phase, which is the arriving and settling. So when we're going to go through this phase, what I'm going to talk through is I'm just going to talk a little bit about my podcast, my YouTube channel, a lot of the content that you can use there. Then I'm going to go through the checklist and just share the Inner Circle app that we're going to do as a community to try and help you not only from the beginning stages, but throughout your whole journey and actually settling and making New Zealand home. So we'll jump right into the 3 steps of this phase, arriving and settling. Okay, so the first step is you're going to go to, be it my YouTube channel, or you go down into the description of this video and you'll see there's going to be a link to a link tree, which is all my content, all my soft landing content. And it'll bring up a page like this, whether you're sharing, this is what it looks like on a PC, but it'll look very similar on your phone. You can then from here get to my YouTube channel, which you would hopefully be on already because you're watching this video, but please subscribe so that you can keep up to date with any content that I put out there. So that's my YouTube channel. You can also go here and you can get onto my podcast. So if you had to click on here, it'll show you my podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and many, many other platforms. I mean, you can look here, all these different platforms that it's available on. So you can go listen to my podcast there, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and actually listen and watch my podcast there. So that's fine as well. There's links to my Facebook, my blogs. So if you go to my blog page, you'll be able to see not only why I've done this, but you could follow along on all the different information that I share from our journey, why I'm creating the podcast, all the way through to all the different how-tos and guides and everything that I've been starting to go through. So you can go through my why we need a plan, why it's important, then gives you the links to the podcast that I did around putting a plan together. So there's my blog that you can follow. I also share quite a bit on TikTok and Instagram, so you can reach out there. You can also go to my ask and reach out. So if you click on here and you can go and put in your details and whatever your message is, this will send me an email and I'll come back to you on any queries that you have. So you can go there. Why am I sharing this? Because in this phase, it's arriving and settling. And the biggest thing about when you first arrive is you have a lot of questions. You're in survival mode. As much as you're prepared, there's a lot of stuff you're trying to figure out. So I'm trying to show you, if you follow my YouTube content, that should help you with a lot of how-to guides. It should help you with a lot of answering a lot of the questions you may have. It could help you with a lot of your just getting into the right mental mindset. So there's a lot that I'm trying to share on that channel over and above my channel. There's the podcast where I share a lot of stuff, but there's also a Facebook community where we chat with one another, and there's information on the Facebook channel community. There's my blog that I send out every single week. So I post information on that blog, as well as just TikTok. So you can see me show you my experience of walking around and different experiences that I'm having in New Zealand. And that's also on TikTok and Instagram. But then there's also my ask, so that if you need to reach out and there are questions and there's information you need, click on here. Give me just shout outs, just reach out and let me know what you're struggling with or what you would need some help with. And if I can guide you or point you to the right people or right person, or I can share or write content, I'll help wherever I can. So this is really a starting point just to try to help you when you arrive and to help you with when you're trying to settle. So this is a starting point over here. Over and above that, I just want to show you also on my site. So this is prep work that you'd be doing right from when you're in country throughout this whole journey. If you start listening to this podcast, I talk through my journey and I talk through our experiences. I talk through what worked, what didn't. So learn from us. That's the whole purpose of this. But over and above that, I've tried to create this content so that you've got a trusted place to go to get advice, get direction on topics, on how-tos and everything like that, just to try and help you settle faster than what we did, to learn from us. So that's what this is all about. And I'm trying to put it all in one place. And I know I'm constantly going over my sites and what it is, but this is where I'm trying to channel everything and put everything in one place. So there's all the different videos, all the different shorts and everything. But like I said, you could also go listen to my podcast here. So all my podcasts are on this channel as well. But this playlists, this is what can help you as well. I've tried to group these playlists together. So if you've got a whole lot of things that you guides that you need and how-tos that you need, you can go to this playlist. So if I click on it, it'll show you here. I just want to pause it so that we don't get too much noise. I've got it muted, which is fine. So you'll see it'll bring up a playlist. And these are all the different how-to guides that I've created. So the one that it's busy showing now is how to fuel your car, how to put petrol in your car, and how to pump your tires. I know it's quite weird, but for us South Africans, it's a new thing for us. So I did a video on it and I showed you how to. I know that my first experience of, never mind putting in the petrol, that was one thing, and how to use the apps and everything like that, because it's also self-service. Or you could go in and get the cashier to actually well, you can pay at the cashier, but you do everything self-service. So I talk you through that in this video. But my first experience of trying to pump my tires at a garage was a nightmare, man. I felt like such an idiot. I couldn't find the actual pump to pump your tires. Back in South Africa, it was next to the petrol pump, and I couldn't find it. So I talk through how it's actually on the side where you can actually go and get your tires pumped. Anyway, that's what this video is about, for example. I'm not trying to sell you how to, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of how-tos. I do how to secure a rental, how to find that first job, the full tutorial that I keep referring to with the costs. That's an important one. This interview with Andre gives you so much key advice over here. Shopping. Oh, this one was an interesting one as well, where I did, when you land in country, you don't know a whole lot of brands and you don't know what shops to go to for what. You've grown up in your country that you come from, and you know the colors and the brands and everything like that. So if you go to this one, for example, I start talking through all the different shops and sharing the different logos. So you can see, Pack and Save, they're that yellow logo. They're the ones that are a bit cheaper with all your different groceries and everything that you can go to. And if you go further on, I start talking through Noel Leeming, for example, where you can go to, which is telling you where you can buy all electronic equipment and stuff. So I've got this. I've even got a link in here to an Excel spreadsheet with a link to all these different stores as well to try and help you, because you can, over and above getting to know these stores, for example, and how-tos, it also helps you when you're doing that budget and that prep. You could go into these different links for these different types of stores, and you can start getting an idea of price and how much different things cost. So when you're setting those budgets for buying furniture, for buying clothing, for buying beds, for buying anything, I've given you all of this information so you know exactly where to go to. So that's the how-to guides that I'm talking about over here on my YouTube channel. So go through those. Those how-to guides can definitely help you as your first playlist. If I go back and I show you the different playlists, so just go right back to the beginning, go to the playlists. I was talking about the how-to guides. So those were the one with the how-to guides. Then I've done one on whys. So this is one that is talking to all the different questions you might be asking why to. Like, why is it so difficult to start over in New Zealand? Why is it so difficult to get a job in New Zealand? Or I talk to so many different things that I can't think of off the top of my head. Why it's difficult to immigrate, why you need a plan. So there's a lot of why videos over here that answers things. I've even done ones where I interview other people and experiences to try and not only just to try and motivate you a little bit as well. So just to help you as much as possible. So these are all the different why videos on this playlist that you can go through. Okay. And then the last one that I've put together on a playlist is, let's go back to the playlist, one too far back. Go to the playlist is the wellness and mindset tools. So if you go into these ones, this one's starting to help you a little bit around, I spoke to, yes, why do you need a plan? Because that one I believe is helping you with your mindset and everything like that. But also, why am I here? So this one I've really spoken to, and I've started talking to putting goals in place and setting your purpose and setting your mission. And I know this one's just an audio one because it was just my podcast. I only recently started doing video on this one, but it's really worthwhile listening. And I've given you links to download the Wheel of Life, a workbook, and everything to start trying to set those goals. I talk to immigration grief that is so real. So many people they go through it alone and they don't realize that it's normal. And there's a lot of other people going through something that's genuinely is a real thing, immigration grief. I talk to it and what it's all about and give you some ideas of how and practical ways to try deal with immigration grief. So that's what this one is all about. And then over here, I've done a recent one, which has just gone out this past week, is moving to New Zealand and giving you 5 steps that helped me on this journey. So, and it's really inspired by a book that I read, which is the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, as well as Simon Sinek's book around why. And I've really used that information to try and build out a practical way to just kind of follow these steps to get in the right sort of mindset, to get yourself into a positive thinking so that you can actually make this work. So this is what this playlist is all about. It's really all about mindset and all about motivation and just trying to give you practical ways to get yourself in the right mindset and the right headspace. So that's those 3 playlists that I think can really help you a lot. I have got a playlist, which is all my content. So it just sums up all the content. So you could go through that if you wanted. And then there's a playlist just for all my podcasts. So I think really as a starting point for arriving and settling, I'm trying to use this platform to put a whole lot of content together that'll help you. And if you one of those first few members that wants or is keen to join that community, you click on here, it'll route you to a form. If you don't mind, just answering some of the questions, giving us your details, and then we'll definitely be in contact with you once it's launched in the new year, and you can be one of the first to join the community. And there'll be specials for people that are joining first into the community. The idea is it is going to be a place over and above all this content that are giving and all this templates and everything that are available there to you. You're going to have a space where you know is a safe, trusted space where there will be specialist advisors available to answer your questions from immigration, from legal immigration advice to financial advice, talking about all the different insurances, investments, home loans, tax, all of that, as well as all my content that I'm trying to put in there, as well as I will schedule regular Q&A sessions, quarterly webinars, monthly webinars with all different guests, and then also trying to get the app in place where we're even trying to match up families so that you can get together and socialize if you opt in for that. Otherwise, it's just different platforms that we'll create where it'll be people that are in the discovery phase. So they in the beginning thinking about stages of moving, and it'll be like-minded people in that portion of the community that you can talk to, and we'll guide you with all relevant information to you to help you in making that decision. And webinars focused on helping you make the right decision and if this is actually for you. Then we'll go into the next group, which are the people that have just landed that 0 to 12 months. So you've just arrived, and we'll give you a whole lot of information and content that's relevant to you that'll help you in that first year when you've landed here. And then the last group that you'll be able to be part of in that community in the app will be all around the people that have been here longer than a year and are starting to go from 1 to 5 years to actually becoming the veterans that have been here for years and are now citizens, so that we can really start aiming and sharing information that's relevant to you. Like you might be working towards now retirement and buying a home, and we'll get people sharing information and specialists meeting with you there. So really what I'm trying to do is build a community where you don't have to be on these Facebook groups and these noise and you don't know who to listen to because some people say something's great and then other people contradict it. You know, this is a trusted place. I've been there. I've done this. I've invited specialists that I've used that I know hand on heart are people we can trust and won't stuff us around and won't rip us off. So that's what this app is all about.